Good morning and welcome into the Wealth Guardian Show. Thank you very much for being here. Today we're going to talk about the tax reform plan that is on the president's agenda. And before we get into that, of course, I want to say a big thank you to all of our men and women serving in our armed forces and really appreciate your service and everything you do for us. You know, the other day I was asked by somebody who came in to see me why I haven't talked about the market in a long time on the radio show. And I said, well, what's to talk about? I mean, ever since Trump was elected, it just keeps going up and up and up and up. I mean, we haven't even had a 3% pullback since then. I mean, it's nuts. Now, follow me here because that kind of ties into where we're going in this radio show today, because the reason the market's up like it is has a lot to do with the Trump agenda. The reformation of taxes, absolutely. The Affordable Care Act, Appeal Replace, which we know has been thwarted so far, that's priced into this market. So one interesting side note about this stock market right now is this. Like I said a moment ago, we're up, I think, a little over 20% since the election. And just a couple weeks ago, somebody or some institution made a monster bet on the stock market, a monster bet that the stock market is going down. Before I tell you what they did, I think I need to probably tell you what it is they traded. It's called the VIX index, VIX. And what the VIX index is it is a measurement of fear in the marketplace. And it has been historically low for the last several weeks and months. To give you a range, currently the VIX is trading under 10. It's about 9.6, I think, the last time I checked on it. At the height of the 2008 crisis, the height of the fear, when everything seemed like it was going to hell in a handbasket, it surged over 80. Okay, so now you've got a range. We're under 10. It's been as high as 80. The VIX goes up when the market goes down. So it's an opposite correlated indicator. A few weeks ago, somebody or some institution, who knows who it is? We don't know. Could be George Soros, laid out a $250 million bet buying call options. Actually, it was a straddle. I'm not going to get into too much detail, but the bottom line is it's a $250 million bet that the VIX is going up between now and October. So they bought options on the VIX, betting that the VIX is going to go from where it is now, under 10, to someplace higher. And by the way, the calls were at 20. So in other words, the VIX has to double from where it is now in order for this monster bet, to make them any money. And he's only got till October. In fact, the third Friday of October for this thing to work out. Does this person or institution know something? I don't know. I would, if I were you, if I had money in this stock market, I would get your calendar out and I'd put a big red circle around the third Friday in October. Because if this bet, and folks, let me tell you something, smart money doesn't put money like this on the line if they don't know something's coming down. Something is going to happen to make the VIX spike over 20 between now and October. What could that be? Who knows? Let's get back into taxes because that's what we're here for. You know, we're having another workshop on taxes coming up on Tuesday, August the 8th and Thursday, August the 10th. We did the taxes and retirement workshop I guess a month or so ago, and it was a huge success. You folks, really, when you retire, you think your taxes are going to go down? I got news for you. They're not. They're not going to go down at all. Why don't you come and learn something about taxes and retirement at our workshop on August 8th and August the 10th at 6:30 at the Broyhill Office and Convention Center in Clemens. All you have to do is go on our website at thewealthguardians.com and register or call our office. It's simple. Pick up the phone, call our office at 336-391-3409. 336-391-3409. That's August 8th, August 10th, 6:30. Taxes in retirement. Be there. All right, it's obvious people just hate paying taxes, but we got some hope. You know, President Trump had vowed during his campaign to change the tax code across the board. And, you know, he wants to change it both for individuals and corporate taxes. Well, you know, the thing is about the tax code right now, we have 7 different brackets. And the bottom line is this tax code we are currently under hasn't been changed in over 30 years. Not materially. You know, it was Reagan that really changed the tax code back in 1982 when he came into office. But we're still operating under a tax code that the top tax rate is 39.6%. So I said a moment ago that the stock market has this priced in it. And what I mean by that is what President Trump wants to do with the tax code is he wants to take it down to 3 brackets. And he wants to make the top bracket 35%. Now, we don't know what income levels yet. They haven't disclosed that. But more importantly, he wants to bring the corporate tax rate down from its current 35% down to 15%. Now, folks, that's huge. I mean, monster huge. Right now, the U.S. has the highest corporate tax rate in the world. Why do you think companies are leaving this country and taking manufacturing jobs overseas? Yeah, some of it is lower labor costs, but a big, big part of that is tax. And here's the other thing. The money that they make overseas is staying overseas. It's not coming back here to get taxed at 35%. It's staying in Ireland at 5%. It's staying in Vietnam at no percent. It's staying overseas, folks. Now, if that money at a 15% tax rate was enticed to come back over here, what do you think corporate America is going to do with that money? Sit on it? No. They're going to use that money to make more money. That means they're going to build plant and equipment. They're going to hire people. They're going to reinvest in themselves. This is a huge part of why this stock market is up here at these crazy, unheard of levels. I mean, we're at Dow 22,000. And yeah, you know, the Dow has been moving up because of a few hand select companies because it's weighted to these companies. But the bottom line is the stock market is up because of all of Trump's agenda. That's why when it was apparent on election night that he was going to win, the stock market, the futures went from being, I think it was down 500-600 points at one time to turning around and being up 500 or 600 points. It has all of this priced in it. It is so important for not just the tax part of his agenda to be put in place in order to support this market, but a lot of other things have to fall into place too. Now, what's on the agenda? All right, let's take a look at it real quick here. Simply, he wants to take the individual tax system and reduce the number of brackets, like I said before, from the current 7 down to 3. More importantly, he wants to double the standard deduction. And I'll get to why that's very important for you folks who are pre-retirees or pre-retirees. He wants to eliminate several individual tax deductions except for home ownership and charitable gifts. And he wants to repeal the alternative minimum tax. And he wants to repeal that 3.8% tax on investment income that came to us graciously from Obamacare. And like I said before, he wants to cut business taxes down to 15%. All right. What's important about doubling the standard deduction? Well, let's take a look at that standard deduction anyway. Okay, so what's important about this standard deduction is currently the standard deduction for a single filer is $6,350, and for married jointly it's $12,700. So if he doubles it for you married couples out there, it's going to go to $25,400. Now, why is this important? Let's go back to what we've learned in our Social Security workshops. We know that currently if you make over $35,000 and $44,000, then that puts some of your Social Security into a taxable situation. Well, if we can double these standard deductions, that means there's more room for other income for you to be able to take advantage of. In other words, what I'm saying to you is it gives us a higher threshold before your Social Security gets taxed. I think this is very important for several reasons. Number one, we have a situation now where we know that those taxable thresholds on Social Security haven't been changed since they were introduced in 1982 and 1992. In other words, they have not been inflated for inflation. If they had been, they'd be somewhere around $80,000 now. So what I'm saying to you is right now, you folks who are retired are vulnerable to higher taxes because of this thing we call the tax torpedo. If you want to learn more about this, give us a call at 336-391-3409. Or better yet, sign up and come to our workshop on August the 8th and August the 10th. You can do that by calling the office, 336-391-3409, or just go online at thewealthguardians.com and register. I think you'll be interested to find out how your taxes on Social Security could spike to 55%. Yeah, you heard me. It could go to 55% on that last marginal dollar. All right, you're listening to the Wealth Guardian Show. We're up against a break, and we'll be right back. And welcome back to the Wealth Guardian Show. Today, on today's show, we have been talking about tax reform under the Trump administration and how all that plays into where this current market is. So if you just joined us, let me recap a little bit. Trump's plan wants to simplify our current individual tax system by reducing the number of brackets. Currently, we've got 7, and he wants to take it down to 3. You know, I wish we could go to the idea of just filling out our taxes on a postcard and mailing it in, but I don't think that's ever going to happen in this country. He also wants to double the standard deduction for everybody. And as I said before, that plays big for you retirees. He wants to eliminate several individual tax deductions, and that you might have some heartburn with, but he's going to keep the home ownership, mortgage interest deduction, and any gifts you make to charities. That deduction's still going to be there. He wants to repeal the alternative minimum tax and the estate tax and the 3.8% tax on investment income that Obamacare gave us. And most importantly, he wants to cut the corporate tax rate from 35% down to 15%. So we talked in the first segment a lot about the corporate tax rate and how important it is for the stock market for that to get enacted. It is. Our current corporate tax rate is the highest in the world. If you wonder why you lost your job because the company shut down and moved to Mexico, that's one big reason. So if we can get it down to 15%, then we're going to be more competitive again. If we can get it down to 15%, we're going to see billions of dollars repatriated. Now, what does that mean? That means these companies that fled to Vietnam and Mexico and Ireland and wherever they went to, the profits they make over there, they keep it over there. They don't bring it back here. Because if they did, it'd get taxed at 35%. So if they brought it back and got a deal on the taxes, then that money could be redeployed back into building capital and reinvesting in their companies, hiring people, maybe giving increases in in wages, things like that, being more productive here at home. To me, I think that is one of the key parts of why this stock market is so high. I mean, if you look at it, if you understand the markets typically are a discounting mechanism. In other words, the markets have an uncanny ability to see in the future. And this market, ever since the election, has been seeing into the future, and what it sees, it likes. It likes everything the Trump agenda had. It loves the tax cuts. It loves the repeal and replace of Obamacare, although that, as we know, has been thwarted for a while. It loves the fact that we're going to build a border wall and control illegal immigration. So much of this stock market is built on these tax cuts and the Trump agenda that if they don't happen, if the Democrats and a lot of the Republicans who oppose Donald Trump are successful in thwarting the changes, I am afraid that we are going to have a major hiccup in the stock market, because without this agenda, this market is as overvalued a stock market as we've seen since 1929. All right, so we've talked about what the structure, what it would look like under the Trump agenda, the tax structure. Let's talk about the other not so great side of the coin here, because when they give, they take. So to help offset some of the cost of tax reform, their proposal is to take away a lot of the current deductions that we have, those deductions that for those of us who itemize. Basically, they're proposing taking away just about every single deduction we have, with the exception of two, and that's the interest we pay on mortgages and charitable contributions. So we would eliminate the deduction that we pay on state and local taxes. We would eliminate the medical expense deductions. And, for a lot of you who itemize, especially us business owners, that actually could end up, oddly enough, making our overall tax go up instead of down. Now, one of the other things about this Tax Reform Act is they want to get rid of the alternative minimum tax. Now, a lot of you, most of you, don't even know what that is and never been touched by it. The alternative minimum tax came in, maybe 30 years ago now, I don't know, somewhere around there. And it was designed for basically high-income earners who itemize a lot to be able to pay what is considered their fair share. In other words, it got rid of a lot of deductions, and the alternative minimum tax, I think, is like a 24% tax. And it was only to affect like the top 1% of all income earners. Well, unfortunately, like so many other things, the government failed to index it to inflation. And what that means, as time goes by, many of you who are not the cream of the cream, the top of the top, the big 0.1% income earners, have been unintentionally snared by the alternative minimum tax. And it's a nasty little tax that really does need to be repealed. So most of you don't ever have to see that. I have, when you come in to meet with me and we do your retirement planning, one of the things I ask you to bring is your current income tax return. Very few of you have been touched by the alternative minimum tax. However, I did see it a couple weeks ago. And it was a very high income couple, both professionals, and they got snared by the alternative minimum tax last year. Now, we have plenty of strategies that we can use to eliminate a lot of those taxes, and we'll be talking about some of those taxes in our upcoming workshop on August the 8th and August the 10th. This is the Taxes and Retirement Workshop, which kind of really dovetails quite nicely with our Social Security workshops, because one of the big things we see with retirees is so much of your Social Security is getting taxed. And you say that's not fair. It's not fair because, basically you've already paid tax. I mean, the Social Security is a tax in a way. But again, August the 8th and August the 10th, I want you to come to this Taxes and Retirement Workshop. We've got some really nifty strategies. We're going to show you how you can avoid being taxed on as much as 85% of your Social Security. And let me tell you something, it doesn't take a lot of income to get you there. For a married couple filing jointly, all you have to have is $44,000 of income. Now, what does $44,000 consist of? Pretty simple. Obviously, if you work a part-time job or something in retirement, earned income is a part of it. Distributions from your 401k, your IRA. And if you have a pension, if you're one of those lucky few that still has a pension, that counts too. So you can quickly see, oh yeah, by the way, they're also going to factor in half of your Social Security. That adds into it. So you can quickly see how a married couple can get over $44,000 in what they call provisional income. And when you hit $44,000 and $1, then 85% of your Social Security is going to be taxed at whatever your tax rate is. So come to our workshop on August the 8th and August the 10th at 6:30. It's going to be in the Roy Hill Office and Convention Center in Clemmons, North Carolina. And to register, you can do one of two ways. Simple way is pick up the phone and call 336-391-3409, or go on our website at thewealthguardians.com and register there. So that's August 8th, August 10th, 6:30 p.m. I think we're going to have probably pretty close to a full house like we've had the last few workshops. All right, so back to the Trump tax reform agenda. One of the other big parts of the reform is to do away with the estate tax. A lot of people call it the death tax. And currently, all of us have a $5.5 million exemption. So in other words, our estate has to exceed $5.5 million before an estate tax applies. And for a married couple, that would be double. That would be $11 million. And, currently that's a 40% tax. So if you were unfortunate enough to, say, pass away with a $12 million estate and you had not done any planning, then that extra $1 million would be taxed at 40% or $400,000 of what you'd already earned and worked for and paid taxes on is now going back to the government to be spent on stupid studies like the mating habits of snails in the desert or something or other. So why would you not want that going to your family and maybe your business or your farm or what have you instead of something the government wants to spend your hard-earned money on? So he wants to get rid of that. Now, obviously, that would certainly affect him. But it really, the estate tax has really historically had some incredibly tough situations on some family businesses, farms, because it hasn't been this high, the exemption. I remember when I first got into this business, it was all the way down to $600,000. In other words, if you had a net worth over $600,000, then anything above that would be taxed and go to the government. And slowly but surely over the years, they've raised the exemptions up to currently it's $5.5 million per person. And yeah, I get it. It doesn't affect the majority of you. But where it does affect people is the small business owner. And the small business owner in this country is what drives the economy. More of you work for small business owners than you do the large Fortune 500 companies. And if they have to pay an exorbitant estate tax, then it's going to ultimately affect you. So hopefully we get this tax changes in the Trump administration done. We need it. If not, I'm afraid the stock market is going to have a huge hiccup in its future, and you need to prepare for it. And one way to prepare for it is sit down with me. Let's have a chat or call me on the phone. The number is 336-391-3409. I'd love to talk to you about what you're doing to prepare for the next inevitable market downturn and what you're doing to prepare for taxes in retirement. Come to our workshop August 8th, August 10th. All right. That's a wrap on this Wealth Guardian show, and we'll see you next week.